It is time to talk about the National League. Jake Mintz, the Cincinnati Reds made the playoffs. How do you feel about that?
I don't, I guess we could start here. I have been a hater all year about the Cincinnati Reds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, in fact, my disdain for this team's relative success ages well because of how they got in. Okay. I'll explain that in a second. I don't want to rain on this parade. Reds fans should not care that this team is not that good. They should not care that they're only here because the Mets bungled it away in historic fashion. They should not care that the Reds are 2 games above 500. They went 83 and 79. They should not care about any of that because they have October baseball. And that's what matters, right? Teams do not exist to pick their own. The fan bases should not be picking their own teams apart in October. You're in. It's great. I love it. However, Jordan, man, I cannot believe this is a playoff team. All year, I was like, is this a playoff team? This doesn't feel like a playoff team. Do they still feel like a playoff team to you, the Reds?
Mm-hmm.
They're in. And that's...
They sure are. We're about to watch them. They were wearing those T-shirts that say October Baseball with the Reds logo on it. So tough to say they aren't at this point. We are going to address the Mets collapse later on in this episode of Baseball Barbacast. But let's focus on this series because here the Reds are, and what a first opponent for them. There are so many things about this matchup that compel me. And to me, the contrast is beautiful. You know, had the Reds got in and, you know, even especially like if they were facing the Cubs or, you know, one of these times, it would be like, okay, well, I've seen this, whatever. I love that this is about as extreme as you can get. Sure, the Dodgers did not finish with the most wins, but the spirit of these two teams and how they got here is completely different. And that is what is beautiful about it. And ultimately, as we kind of talked about last week when we realized that the Dodgers were heading for the wild card round for just the second time during this dynastic run of postseason appearances since 2013, here we go, man. You are facing the ominous randomness of a short series, and let's see if you can handle it. Now, the Dodgers, funny enough, even though they did not get to 117 wins, they didn't get to 100 wins. They didn't even get to 95. And yet, they're entering the postseason healthier and arguably way more formidable on paper than they did a year ago. Like, way, way, way more. Like, you're looking at this, you're like, oh, man. Whereas last year we had questions. This time it's like, I mean, this team's so much better than the Reds. They might be so much better than everybody.
Game 1, Hunter Greene, the L.A. kid, grew up in the city, went to Notre Dame High School, very L.A. guy, will be throwing for the Reds in Game 1 against Blake Snell, probably, for the Dodgers. Game 2, looking like Nick Lodolo for the Reds against Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers. And if there's a Game 3, it'll be Andrew Abbott against a position player pitching Shohei Ohtani. This series is an exercise in extremes. The Dodgers' payroll is the GDP of a small country. The Reds, not so much. The Dodgers, it was win 110 games or bust. And for the Reds, it was sneak into the playoffs. Both of these, the Reds are happy to be here. The Dodgers, the opposite, right? Now, yes, I know the Reds, our job's not finished. Like, we can do this. Like, great. If the Reds lose both games, if the Reds go 2 and out, season's a success, right?
I mean, yes, certainly by your standards, who didn't think they would be here. But
if they go 2 and out,
yes,
it's not a disappointment.
No, I agree with you. I obviously understand what you're getting at. I think that for
whereas
a Reds
if the Dodgers go,
yes, of
this
course.
is my point. Whereas if the Dodgers go 2 and out, or the Dodgers lose this series, it is the end of the world, right? Like, it is sky fall. And so that is what is so fascinating about this matchup, is the stakes are just like, it couldn't be more because usually in a playoff series, right, in the first round, it's like, I cannot believe one of these two teams is about to be done. And I feel this way
Mm-hmm.
about really like Yankees, Red Sox, and Padres, Cubs, where it's like, we've been thinking about these two teams and spending so much energy on these two teams and analyzing them and evaluating them all season long. The Yankees and Red Sox, like, oh, do the Red Sox have enough hitting at the bottom of the lineup? Do the Yankees have enough bullpen? And then today's Monday, and on Friday, like, one of them will just be on vacation. Whereas for this, it's like, if the Reds are, I could see the Reds, like, I could understand how they'd be out on Friday. I didn't think they were going to be here in the first place. So
Yeah.
this
Or
really is.
yeah.
Now, look, would Mets Dodgers have had more national zest? Obviously, absolutely. For the ball knowers, though, this one is arguably like, it has even more
And I
oomph to
think
it.
that it is more intriguing in that sense because yes, if we did end up with Dodgers Mets, you would have been like, oh my God, there's $1 billion on the baseball field, $2 billion on the baseball field. Like, this is outrageous. But because of how the Mets got there, if the Mets somehow won, you'd still be like, well, yeah, they have Juan Soto and Lindor and Alonso and whatever and whatnot. And like, it's very disappointing for the Dodgers, but like, okay, the Mets won a short series. That's fine. We've seen them do that before. In this case, to your point, yeah, it is how we will feel in the two results is just so monumentally different. And yet, because of the pitching, which is why the Reds have gotten here, they will have a chance. Hunter Greene is the first part of that, but Nick Lodolo and Andrew Abbott have been two of the better left-handers in the National League this season. Abbott, of course, an all-star. Lodolo has been sneaky solid for much of this season. And how the Dodgers are lining up the pitching, we assumed, okay, would it be Ohtani in game one? It seems like it's going to be Snell in game one. Based on reporting as we're recording this right now, it seems like they would be saving Ohtani for game three, or if they think they can sweep, which they probably do because they're the Dodgers playing the 83-win Reds, they would have Ohtani available for game one against the Phillies. These are all good options. It's hard to say, oh, how dare you not start Ohtani in one of these first two games when you have Snell and Yamamoto. But there probably will be some level of second guessing if they somehow falter and Ohtani doesn't even pitch in the postseason. I mean, how wild of an outcome would that be? But in this case, Ohtani can focus on hitting more home runs and powering the offense as the Dodgers, especially against a stout Cincinnati pitching staff, which has obviously been good enough to get them there. The bullpen has been also quietly quite good. Emilio Pagan has been very solid. Tony Santillan's pitched in like half the games. Chase Burns, the rookie fireballer, is now in the bullpen. That is a serious weapon for them to be able to turn to in some high leverage spots. Meanwhile, conversely, as we get to just the players that we're thinking about, the Dodgers bullpen is the weakness, right? Even though they've spent a bunch on it and they are basically healthy now. There is one Dodgers injury we need to talk about, but for the most part, on the mound, they're healthy. And now they might even have Roki Sasaki back and they might have these other things, but how they're getting outs late in games, I mean, Dave Roberts is going to be holding on for dear life.
I think the two left-handed starters in games 2 and 3 against the Dodgers is a very interesting storyline to watch. Ohtani is incredible against anybody. So is Freddie Freeman. But if you're gonna, like, the path towards trying to mitigate the Dodgers feels like it is with left-handed pitching. I feel better about a lefty trying to trick Michael Conforto and Miguel Rojas and Andy
Muncy,
Pages,
yeah.
Whereas it's like versus like a righty trying to beat Muncy, Ohtani, Freeman, right? Like that.
Sure.
Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my read on it. The player that I'm thinking about is this guy named Dodger Bullpen.
Yeah.
I mean,
take your pick, dude, because all of these guys are, entering the postseason with kind of a different storyline, right? I mean, think about what we were saying about Treinen as just the ultimate stopper at this time, last year and what he proved in October. And you still watch him and the stuff is unbelievable, but he's had some horrible outings. And then Tanner Scott, man, I mean, you give a reliever, $70 million and it's been a catastrophe. There's no way around it, but he's going to pitch. He's going to show up at some point. I think, Vesia, Jack Dreyer have gotten some higher leverage spots instead of Tanner Scott, and that's what's going to be interesting.
I want to roll through the bullpen very quickly
Okay.
because I think all of these characters are fascinating. Tanner Scott, like you said, gets $72 million dollars and has just, I think he leads the league in blown saves. He has just coughed up late game leads again and again and again. Alex Vesia, I think, is the most reliable reliever right now. He's been in the Dodgers for a while. Lefty, gets a lot of outs. He did have an injury towards the end of the season. He on my trust tree, I think I would have him at number one. Anthony Bonda, similar type of guy with less impact, left-handed reliever that you've seen. You know that guy's deal. Then you have this like fascinating group of dudes that are really just starters. They're just starters that are going to be pitching in the bullpen. That is Justin Wrobleski. That is, frankly, Ben Kasparius if he's on the roster. That is Jack Dreyer, who was moved to the bullpen this year. They viewed him as a starter as like not that long ago. That is Landon Knack. That is Roki Sasaki. Like the Dodgers just have a lot of right-handed pitchers, or a lot of starting pitchers that they're just going to use as relievers. And I just don't trust this thing. I do not trust this group at all.
Well, and how all hands on deck are we talking, right? I mean, are Sheehan and Glasnow even going to be on the roster? We know Kershaw's not going to be, but Emmett Sheehan's another one that I'm thinking about. Or are we making sure that he's available to start? I think Sheehan and Glasnow will both
be on the roster.
Okay, so then there's another two guys that if we're freaking out and we're trying to get to 27 outs and no one is doing the job, there's a lot of opportunity. In theory, it's like, oh, look at all these great options. But it's been so volatile with how much you're counting on them versus the ultimate talent and potential that you think you're calling on when you put them in the game, especially if you're now asking Tyler Glasnow to pitch in relief, or you're asking Sheehan to come in. So that's where it gets spicy. I mean, I guess Ohtani, we're assuming, is staying in a starting role, at least for now. Yeah. But all these guys, I agree with you. They could go in a lot of different directions.
Well, I mentioned the trust tree. I think most teams enter October with a pretty clear understanding of how they rank their own relievers, right? Like I'm pulling up the Yankees bullpen right now. Okay. Bednar, most trustworthy. Then it's like Williams, Weaver, and then it's like Cruz, Doval, and then it's Tim Hill to get a lefty, right? For the Phillies, it's Duran at the back, and then it's like Strom, Kerkering, and David Roberts. Like, these tiers, they're very clear because teams want to have that understanding before they enter October, so that when it's like, hey, in this situation, we're pressing this button. I look at the Dodgers trust tree and I don't trust, like, what is the plan? I don't know. It's like no one's fault. There's been injuries and underperformance and whatever. And how
it's everyone's fault.
It's everyone's fault. How Dave Roberts chooses to deploy the bullpen is going to be fascinating. Now, it might not matter, right? It might not matter because there's a scenario where Hunter Greene goes 5 innings and lets up 3 runs. And then the Reds bring in someone to bridge the gap, and that's like Graham Ashcraft, and he just gets clobbered by Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, and the Dodgers win 10-2, right? That is very possible. And it's like, oh, well, who cares who the Dodgers are bringing in relief? They're up by 2 touchdowns, And so maybe it doesn't matter until later on in the playoffs.
Sure. And we'll continue to have those conversations. The player I'm thinking about, I just want to give the Reds a little bit more love and just, what's on my mind about them.
Tons of love.
It's really
tough love.
Things. That's true. That's a good way to look at it. Let's talk about Elly, because this is a player who, of course, I was so fortunate to be in the Cincinnati area in 23 when he debuted. And to watch him look to be on an MVP trajectory last season. It was like, all right, well, he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. And this was a very, very strange season for Elly De La Cruz. And you have to acknowledge that he was, in all likelihood, playing through some injuries. He had a tragedy off the field, the death of his sister. Of course, you can never underestimate how much that impacts players with the things that they're dealing with. And throughout, I mentioned all that. This is a guy that played 162 games. You look at the players that played 162 games this year, they're all first basemen in DHs, and then it's Elly De La Cruz, who basically played, I think, 159 games or 60 games at shortstop. And yet, the numbers do not reflect the trajectory we assumed that he was on, which was
Yeah.
just a rocket ship ride to like 8 WAR without a doubt, hitting 30 homers and stealing 80 bases and playing gold glove defense. Like that's where it seemed like we were heading. That did not happen this season. He went like 2 months without homering. And yet he's so young and he was posting every day, and you don't want to be too harsh on him. But when you look at this Reds lineup and you're wondering how are you going to match up with the Dodgers, you need Elly to do something really cool, probably. I mean, maybe not in just 2 games, but if we're talking about the Reds as a real threat, you're going to need Elly to really show up, because they have these other role players that have stepped up, and it'll be cool to see Gavin Lux going up against the Dodgers, and Noelvi Marte's been a nice story. Miguel Andujar has been like a really sneaky, awesome ad. Tyler Stevenson is a really longest tenured Red. Like I like these players, but Elly's the guy. Elly's the guy that you're tuning into and be like, why are the Reds in the playoffs? All right, well, at least I get to watch Elly De La Cruz. That is what the casual fan's going to be thinking, but it has not been the season we expected. I still believe in Elly more than almost any other player. I'm excited to see what this looks like for him in the postseason for the first time.
If you told me that the Reds were going to sneak in and get a wild card spot, I'm like, oh, Elly finished top 3 in MVP voting.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. And instead, that's just not the case. So we'll see with Elly. And then last thing on the Reds before we move on to Cubs Padres is they've embraced this mantra. You can't kill us. We're the Reds. It's like, okay, but can you kill anyone else? Like,
doesn't matter.
You have survived.
Fastest from the bear, brother.
Right? That's fine, right? But at this point now it's like, all right, well, this is a great opportunity. Like, if you can beat the Dodgers, then I'm done doubting you, right? So it's a little bit of a different thing. So we will see how that goes, and anything's possible in this short series. And then the historical context, man. This team hasn't won a playoff series since 1995. And the last time they did it, it was against the Dodgers, but that was 30 years ago. So NLDS 1995 NLDS is the last time that the Reds won a postseason series. That is the longest drought in Major League Baseball. And so this is a tough one to try and do, but only got to get 2 games, and maybe they have the pitching to do it.